Fox 26 News at 5 starts now.
Federal judge just reversed the sentence, so you'll be coming home.
No, man. No, man.
Yes,
Are you
you're coming
serious,
home.
man?
Yes, you will be coming home.
Right now at 5, a Fox 26 exclusive. A man serving a life sentence will soon be back home with his family thanks to a Houston activist, Trey the Truth, and also an explosion at a bar in 3rd Ward, now under a criminal arson investigation. And what you can do if you think you are being illegally evicted from your home. Fox 26 News at 5 starts right now. Well, it has been more than 2 weeks since George Floyd's death in police custody, and the nation continues to focus on inequalities in the justice system. That focus remains strong, and Fox 26's Donnelly Keith starts us off with the story of a man whose life sentence has now been overturned. Donnelly.
Yeah, Caitlin, he was supposed to die in prison after receiving a life prison sentence. Instead, you can hear for yourself the moment Kevin Fenner Sr. finds out he will soon once again live outside prison walls.
Well, first and foremost, how you doing, homie? You all right?
Yes, sir. I'm blessed, man. I'm above ground, so I'm still winning, you know?
In a matter of seconds, 52-year-old Kevin Fenner Sr., who's been in prison 13 years, will find out he will soon be free.
So I just personally wanted to call you and tell you that we fought for your case, and the federal judge just reversed your sentence, so you'll be coming home.
No, man. No, man.
Yes,
Are you
you're coming
serious,
home.
man?
Yes, you will be coming home.
Thank you.
Fenner sobs as Houston rapper Trey the Truth tells him his life sentence in prison has been overturned.
And I could tell you that was a different type of feeling. I haven't felt that way in a minute. That phone call, I put it like this, I won't play it too many times again.
Just because you committed some offense doesn't mean that you need to be thrown away forever.
Oh, man. I can breathe, man. I can finally breathe.
Here at the end where he says, I can finally breathe, you know, and we've been existing in a time for the last week or two where we've been holding signs saying that we can't breathe.
Attorney My Angel Cody, along with supporters such as Trey the Truth, has been fighting to get Fenner released from prison there in Minnesota, now after the death of George Floyd, which has opened eyes around the world to inequality. A judge has agreed to set Fenner free. Fenner was sentenced to life in prison in 2007 under the 3 strikes law for possessing a golf ball size of crack cocaine.
He could have sold a suitcase full of cocaine powder and still not received a life sentence. That's the disparity.
Cody is one of 2 attorneys in the Buried Alive project who works for free and has worked with Kim Kardashian West using the 2010 Fair Sentencing Act signed by President Obama to free mostly black men.
Kevin is our 50th win. He's the 50th person we've saved from a life sentence. I started doing this 6 years ago.
Kevin Fenner Jr. has dreamed of having his dad home for years.
He getting out, being around his family. I'm sorry, man.
Now, Kevin Fenner Jr. also has 3 little boys of his own that he just can't wait for his dad to meet. Kevin Fenner Sr. is expected to be released from prison within the next couple weeks. Now, the 2 attorneys in the Buried Alive project, they have 10 court cases pending right now and another 300 case files they're reviewing. Reporting live, I'm Donnelly Keith, Fox 26 News.
Thank you, Donnelly. Well, an explosion that rocked 3rd Ward early this morning and decimated a newly renovated bar is said by investigators to have been intentional. This is what's left of Bar 5015 on Alameda. Houston Fire Department confirming the explosion was deliberately set and an active criminal investigation is now underway. This happened just before 5 this morning, so no one was believed to have been inside at the time or at the building, but officials say the blast could have been felt as far away as Texas Southern University campus. No injuries have been reported at this time. President Donald Trump is defending his choice for when and where to hold his first campaign rally since the pandemic hit. It is scheduled to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 19th, which coincides with the Juneteenth annual celebration of slavery being abolished in the U.S. And Tulsa was the site of one of America's worst racially motivated mass killings when a white mob killed an estimated 100 to 300 black residents and burnt their businesses and homes to the ground back in 1921. The president addressed the criticism of his time and location choice on Fox News.
Your rally in Oklahoma is set for June 19th. Was that on purpose?
No, but I know exactly what you're going to say.
Well, I'm just asking. I've not got anything to say.
Think about it as a celebration. My rally's a celebration. We're going to Oklahoma, and if you think about it relative to your question, think about it as a celebration. Don't think about it as an inconvenience. Think about this as a celebration.
Oh, no.
This will be.
It's on the day of African American emancipation.
That's right.
It's the Independence Day.
The fact that I'm having a rally on that day, you can really think about that very positively as a celebration.
Houston Congressman Al Bean is calling this a slap in the face to the African-American population. Houston's Christopher Columbus statue has been vandalized again. Overnight, a noose was put around the statue's neck at Bell Park, right near the museum district, and the right hand of the statue was broken off. The city's Parks Department is watching local statues now to prevent any further damage. Yesterday, we told you that red paint had been smeared on the face and hands of the statue in what has been a wave now of nationwide vandalism of controversial historical figures. Well, we have breaking news coming in from the University of Houston Athletics Department. They are immediately suspending all voluntary workouts for student athletes after 6 tested positive for COVID-19. UH says the impacted students have been placed in isolation and that contact tracing procedures have been initiated as per protocol. Well, phase 3 of our state's reopening expands today, with restaurants going to 75% capacity. Governor Greg Abbott tells us he is concerned but not alarmed about the rising number of COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations here and across the state. Next Friday, amusement parks are allowed to open at 50% capacity. Right now, Harris County is listing the county at a what is the second highest COVID-19 threat level, where risk is significant, but testing and care capacity is not yet being breached. They advise minimal contact for residents at this time, and should the spread grow beyond management of our capacity, the county appears ready to return to stay-at-home orders. As efforts continue to help renters who lost income because of the pandemic avoid being evicted because of that, we are hearing from people who say they are being illegally forced out without their day in court. But consumer reporter Heather Sullivan did some looking for you and has some information showing you how the law is on your side. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather. It sure is. We have been hearing harrowing stories from people about being locked out of their apartments or their power being turned off. That is not legal. And in fact, the law will even provide that you may be able to collect money from your landlord if that happens to you. Viewers have sent us photos like these saying their personal items were removed from their apartments when they couldn't pay the rent. Some say the lights or water were turned off. One woman who wants to stay anonymous says her landlord wouldn't accept her rent because they wanted her out.
They put a notice to vacate, and I'm like, why am I leaving? I didn't do anything wrong.
Attorney Reggie Fox with Lone Star Legal Aid says they are seeing illegal evictions.
They would do what they call self-help eviction, and they would do things like turn off the power, the water, or the lights, and sometimes they will also lock people out.
An eviction is not legal until a judge orders it. Fox says if a landlord locks you out, ask for the new key.
You are required to get a key once you ask within 2 hours. They have 2 hours to give you a key.
If you don't get a key, you can ask a judge for a writ of re-entry. And if your power or water is turned off, a judge can order it back on. Texas Property Code says a landlord who does these things may owe you 1 month's rent plus $1,000 in damages. And Fox says you don't have to move out when you receive a notice to vacate.
Then they have to go to the court, and you don't have to move until the judge says you have to move. Even then, you don't have to move because you have the right to file an appeal.
Fox told his client to record herself on her phone paying her rent. A judge is now letting her stay, but it's been stressful.
Not knowing where I'm going to go and stuff and have, uproot me and my child's life and try to find somewhere else to stay when I was okay where I was at.
If you are facing an eviction, illegal or otherwise, and you cannot afford an attorney, you can contact Lone Star Legal Aid, Houston Volunteer Attorneys, or you can go to the TexasLawHelp.org website for information. And I put links to all of this on Sullivan's Smart Sense on Fox26Houston.com. I'm Heather Sullivan, Fox 26 News.
All right, Heather, thank you. Still to come on the news at 5, the Texans head coach going all in when it comes to supporting players and about kneeling during the anthem. And Rodeo Houston announcing dates for 2021.
Ready, so we ready to rebound. We ready. We ready to rebound.
And a local gym finds a new way to connect with clients when COVID-19 forces them to shut down. That's all coming up at 5:45 in this week's Fox 26 In Focus special, Rebound and Recovery.
News is brought to you by JAXA Energy, home of the 100% green energy plans at no extra cost.
The killings of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor are among those that are now fueling calls to address racial disparities within the criminal justice system. And the Honey Brown Hope Foundation is now calling for justice for Darius Elam, who's serving a life sentence for the aggravated robbery and death of Richard Bowen back in 1983 while he was a student at Texas Southern University. Elam was convicted based on jailhouse informants and a fingerprint on a piece of paper that was eventually destroyed by the Houston Police Department in 1995. In 2014, post-conviction DNA testing dismissed Elam as a DNA contributor, which means there's no physical evidence currently linking him to the crime.
While there is a fresh memory of the injustice committed against blacks in America, we are in need of the 232nd District Court to do the right thing and issue a timely and just recommendation to the Court of Criminal Appeals to exonerate Darius Elam.
His attorney is seeking to vacate his conviction on the grounds of innocence and new science DNA testing. A lot of questions have popped up after this video of Chicago police officers lounging in an office during a looting about a week ago. Newly released surveillance video shows several officers relaxing in a congressman's office while looters were ransacking nearby businesses. The president of the police union says the officers were at the congressman's office to protect it. Mayor Lori Lightfoot speaking out against their behavior.
The actions of these officers, the deplorable lack of responsibility to do their job at a time when the city and their fellow officers needed them most. Their conduct will confirm the perception that too many people on the south and the west side were left to fend for themselves. That police don't care if black and brown communities were looted and burned.
The mayor says the officers abandoned their obligations and adds that their supervisors will be held accountable. Pride Houston has announced another change to their yearly celebration. On June 27th, the LGBTQ community will hold a rally and march at Houston City Hall. Pride Houston says the idea comes in response to the protests over the death of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement and all they've been doing recently. The event will replace the annual parade and festival, which had been postponed until this fall because of COVID-19. Dates for next year's Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo have officially been released. The big event is scheduled for March 2nd through the 21st out at NRG Park. The rodeo was cut short, of course, this year because of the coronavirus outbreak. Well, Fox 26 is your Gulf Coast Weather Authority and Chief Meteorologist Dr. Jim Siebert joining me now for a look outside on this Friday evening. Hey, Jim.
You know, another spectacular day. We started off with the clear skies, temperatures dipping into the 60s, and that dry air is not going anywhere just yet. Let's take a look at the almanac for today. Our high temperature, normal this time of year, is around 91, and guess what? It was 91 degrees. 66 the low. Boy, we'll take that anytime. 73 would be average. But in the 7-day forecast, I'll show you when we'll get back to average conditions, but not yet. 90 degrees right now. The skies are clear. The dew point has barely crept up to about 60 degrees, but it's still at 37%. So the air is still relatively dry thanks to that northeast wind coming in at 8 miles per hour. So right now with the temperatures, it feels like 80s and low 90s. Not even close to 100 degrees. So that's why it just feels wonderful out there. And I think we're going to have an entire weekend like this, even though the humidity starts to creep up just a little. Now, the downside of all this is the high pressure that is causing the skies to be so clear is also making the air sink, and there's not a lot of wind. Therefore, air pollution is kind of an issue. And so we still have an ozone action day issued for Harris, Galveston, and Brazoria counties for Saturday. And it wouldn't surprise me that we have to have that also on Sunday. As we look at the bigger picture here, the high pressure is still controlling things and pushing away anything that would come in the direction for us for showers. In fact, I really don't have rain or a chance for rain in the forecast until the end of next week. Not this week, but next week. So lows tonight, 60s to low 70s, but we'll make it about 7 a.m. about 71, 89 at noon tomorrow, 92 your afternoon, but we'll top out about 92 to 93 degrees. Beautiful day. 7-day forecast. Sunday, almost the same, maybe a degree warmer. On Monday to Tuesday, that's when the humidity starts to come back a little bit. We'll start to really feel it, though, by Wednesday to Thursday, and maybe by Friday we'll start to call it humid or muggy again. But until then, enjoy the beautiful weather while we have it, because we know it just can't last too long.
All right, Jim, thank you. Well, coming up, comedian Dave Chappelle gets pretty serious, speaking out about George Floyd's death. Well, today is National Loving Day, a celebration marking the day that the Supreme Court struck down the state bans against interracial marriage.
I'm going to take Mildred up to D.C. and get married. Are you sure about that?
By the power vested in me by the District of Columbia, I now pronounce you husband and wife.
The monumental case, as you see, was made into a film in 2016. Loving versus Virginia was in 1967 about an interracial couple, Richard and Mildred Loving, who got married and were then informed they were breaking the law. The couple pleaded their case. In that year, more than 16 cases of interracial marriage were struck down. Nearly 5 decades since that decision, interracial marriage has increased dramatically. The number is nearly 5 times higher than it was in 1967. Today is a somber day for Florida and so many across America who remember that 4 years ago on this day, the mass shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, one of the deadliest in American history. 49 people killed. A virtual memorial is being planned. Flags will also fly at half staff across Florida in honor of all those who were lost.
This man kneeled on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Can you imagine that? This kid thought he was gonna die. He knew he was gonna die. He called for his mother. What are you signifying? That you can kneel on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds and feel like you wouldn't get the wrath of God.
Comedian Dave Chappelle in a surprise new special on Netflix's YouTube channel. It's called 846. It dropped last night. Chappelle addressing the death of George Floyd and the ongoing nationwide protests against police brutality. Apple is committing $100 million to help combat racism amid the ongoing national protests and calls for equality. CEO Tim Cook says that the Racial Equity and Justice Initiative will focus on education and criminal justice reform. The company will also continue building upon existing efforts like working with historically black universities and other partners. Last week, Cook sent an internal memo to employees promising that Apple will donate to racial justice groups. And Starbucks is bowing to boycott pressure and now allowing employees to wear apparel in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. The company had been taking heat for banning any pins or shirts being worn at work that might be tied to the movement. The coffee chain says it will partner with black leaders to make 250,000 shirts in support of George Floyd, again, who died in police custody. Well, still to come, people who swim and fish at the Bayou Vista canals near Galveston, well, they want answers after this video, what appears to be raw sewage flowing into the waterway.
You're watching Fox 26 News, your station for life.
Thanks for sticking with us. Video shows what appears to be an endless stream of untreated sewage pouring into the Bayou Vista canals near Galveston, raising a lot of alarm for those who swim and fish there regularly. So Fox 26's Ivory Hecker went out to get to the bottom of what is going into that water. Hi, Ivory.
Hi, Caitlin. Bayou Vista residents say the water had a horrible odor and appearance for months, and now they're demanding more transparency after not getting any heads up from local officials about the pollution that was occurring.
If you've ever walked past a porta potty, it's the smell of a porta can.
Residents of Bayou Vista captured these photos and video throughout April and May of apparent undertreated sewage pouring out into the canal in front of waterfront homes.
Everything but toilet paper, basically. You see large solids come out that are so heavy they sink. Sometimes you see solids come out that don't sink. People are going underwater swimming, jumping off the top.
The pipe drains from the Galveston County Municipal Utilities District 12 wastewater treatment plant. Independent testing of the water samples showed high levels of E. coli and bacteria in the water.
Have you seen the actual sewage pouring in here?
Yeah, it stinks like hell. There were people calling the operators in March and April saying, what's going on? And they were giving us excuses and telling us at no time are they in violation. The water's fine.
There's a risk when you get in those waters, just like there's a risk of driving your car down I-45.
You just get tired of them trying to blow smoke up your butt.
Eventually, the TCEQ conducted its own investigation and on May 27th sent this notice of violation to the Municipal Utilities District. The president of the Galveston Bay Foundation says mass quarantine due to COVID-19 likely played a role in overstressing wastewater treatment systems.
It's not really designed to have everybody home full time. People are supposed to go off and go to work and use the toilets there.
Fast forward to today and things have improved.
I'm not seeing the sewage.
No, that was our goal. We want it to run clear. We want them to be in compliance with the law. I was reported clear starting yesterday morning.
And the big issue for these residents.
Yeah, the last one.
Okay, so TCEQ has given the Mud 12 district 60 days to fix its wastewater treatment problem that it has. But in the meantime, these residents say their big issue is communication. The fact that these officials did not alert them that this was happening in the first place. Now, the Mud 12 district declined to do an interview with me today, but they did send me a statement about their intentions to be in better contact with the citizens. They're actually in contact with Galveston County Health District about alerting the public if something like this happens in the future. We are live from Bayou Vista. Ivory Hecker, Fox 26 News.
All right, Ivory, thank you. The CDC is out with a list of tips on how you can reduce your chance of catching COVID-19 now that so many more of us are stepping out into the world. Here are just some of the things they talk about. They say take the stairs, not the elevator. Encourage guests that you have come over to bring their own food and drinks. Use hand sanitizer after using your bank ATM. Call ahead to restaurants or nail salons to make sure everyone will be wearing masks and that they're following guidelines. And avoid giving high fives or even elbow bumps. The CDC says these guidelines are not intended to endorse any particular type of event or activity, just guidelines for us all to try to stay safe. Disneyland and Disney California Adventure are both scheduled to reopen a little over a month from now, but a lot of people are not comfortable with that. More than 20,000 have signed a petition asking the Anaheim, California parks not to reopen yet. The petition argues that reopening the park endangers guests as well as employees. The parks have been closed since mid-March and typically have a very diverse global group of tourists who come to visit. 18 days after the death of George Floyd, the Minneapolis Angeles City Council has unanimously passed a resolution to replace the police department with a community-led public safety system. The move comes after a veto-proof majority of the council voted to disband the police department after the country erupted in protest over Floyd's death at the hands of now a former officer, Derek Chauvin. More than a dozen Minneapolis police officers published an open letter on Thursday to condemn the actions of Chauvin and express support for police reform. Texas Southern University is going to host a public visitation for legendary debate coach Dr. Thomas F. Freeman on the morning of Tuesday, June 16th, 10 in the morning till 12:45. A memorial service will then follow in the Health and Physical Education Arena on Wheeler Avenue. That will be live streamed on the TSU site and TSU's social media pages. If you do plan to go in person, social distancing guidelines will be in place and you will be required to have a face covering on. Dr. Freeman died Saturday after 100 storied years of life. Well, a survey on DIY home renovation projects last year found that more than half took longer than expected, and I think that's an undercount. I think most of them do. And a lot of those people could have saved themselves some time if they had just asked Fox 26's Tom Ziska, who now does think he is finally seeing the light at the end of his renovation tunnel. And what I see, Tom, is some pretty nice looking tile from the last time we checked in on your project.
Absolutely, Caitlin. Thank you. So when I started this project end of February, the timeline was 60 days. Obviously, I've blown that out of the water. However, as Caitlin mentions, I have a finished and functioning shower. How about that? Meantime, the to-do list gets shorter and shorter with some decent progress in getting this whole room finally together, starting with the floor tile. For the first time ever, after doing a bunch of tiling jobs, I'm going to try these leveling clips. The clips are designed to keep all of the tiles level relative to the ones around them. So this goes on the floor, the tile goes on top of it, and this gets wedged in on top to kind of keep everything level. Famous last words, this ought to be the easiest, it's relative, of all the tiling jobs in this project. Straightforward, big expansive space, big tiles, 12 by 24, and just a couple of minor cuts. Take these wedges out of these leveling clips out, and they are designed to break away so you can get to the grout. I looked at a bunch of different options for the bathroom storage cabinets and decided the best quality, most economical option would be an online ready-to-assemble version. Same concept that you find at IKEA. It's a flat pack box, but inside it is hardwood and plywood instead of particle board. In the box are, well, minimal instructions. But fortunately, the manufacturer's website also has a variety of how-to videos.
Be extra careful not to scratch the cabinet frame.
Since I'm installing the wall cabinets on my own, I've designed just a little bit of help. First, this little ledger board here. It is level right at the spot that the cabinets will sit on top of them. It'll hold them level. Additionally, I have this telescoping support rod, which will help hold them in place. It's kind of like a valuable extra set of hands to hold things in place for final adjustments before everything gets locked in. And it worked like a charm. So when I finish assembling and installing the cabinets, this wall gets tile all over it, kind of a feature wall. Vanities get put in, some trim, and tell you what, my high school daughter graduates with a ceremony in just under 2 weeks. There are a couple of relatives visiting. Caitlin, that is now my timeline.
But you know, now that you have all the tools and everything, Tom, you got a little side hustle perhaps going forward. We'd love to see it.
You're not the first person to mention that. I will do it if people can put up with you know, how long it takes me to do things.
Hey, all right, flexibility counts. Thanks, Tom. And we will be back with a look at your weekend weather.
This newscast is brought to you by Standard Insurance. Don't delay. Call Standard today.
All right, time to relax into the weekend. Fox 26 is your Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Chief Meteorologist Dr. Jim Siebert has been keeping an eye on what we can expect, and a lot of us hope the answer is more of what we've had over the past couple days, Jim.
You know what? I think not only are we going to see it for the next couple of days, I think it's even going to bleed over into the weekend, or from the weekend into next week. We'll take that, won't we? But some minor changes. So let's look at the almanac today. Started off with temperatures in the 60s. And then by the afternoon, we got to 91. Perfectly average for the afternoon temperature, but boy, we like those 60s. I think we have maybe one more day. Maybe we can squeeze 2 out of that. Current temperatures are in the 90s. But again, with the dry air in place, our temperature feels like temperature is actually 1 degree cooler than what the actual temperatures are. So we'll take that anytime during June. So the high pressure is still in place. There's showers way out in New Mexico, a couple little showers way up in North Texas and the Panhandle. I even don't have a hint of rain in our forecast until maybe the end of next week. I mean, this high pressure is really holding on to things for now. So here's your forecast Saturday. Lows will dip into the 60s, and then we'll be in the 70s by 7 a.m. for most of us. We'll be 80s at noon, low 90s into the afternoon. An ozone action day, so the air quality not so good, especially for Harris, Galveston, and Brazoria counties. Then your 7-day forecast. Enjoy it while we got it. We'll still see a few 60s Sunday morning, but by Monday, most of us back into the low 70s for lows, middle 90s for highs, but the air is still relatively dry, humidity building during the week, and by Thursday to Friday, that's when it becomes muggy again. So I hope you have a chance to go outside, enjoy this dry weather while we have it, because it really is nice.
Well, coming up, live performances are one of the biggest entertainment elements that were hurt by pandemic shutdowns. And we're going to take a look at how Houston's performing arts centers and culture is trying to rebound and recover.
That life as usual probably will not be returning anytime soon.
Texas seeing a spike in coronavirus cases and hospitalizations this week. And local leaders and lead doctors at the Texas Medical Center have been telling us that they think we may need to rethink how we are moving forward, creating confusion for a lot of the businesses that have been allowed to reopen and for those who have been wanting to get out. So many people who very much need that income back after weeks of closures. So thanks for being with us for our special tonight. Among those businesses, we're looking at our theaters. Houston is second only to Broadway in terms of audience volume, with nearly 12,000 audience seats that have been empty for weeks. Our Denise Middleton is checking in on how some of our performing arts centers are fighting to survive.
Before the coronavirus pandemic, Houston's beloved theater district was booming with performances nearly every weekend.
There is nothing better than sitting in a room and experiencing live theater.
New guidelines from the state are full of promise, but there's a lot to be done before the curtain can go up. As Governor Greg Abbott continues to take steps to reopen the state, Alley Theater's managing director, Dean Gladden, says he's concerned about the damage that's already been done.
All the performing arts industry is in a very tough place right now. Many of our sister organizations are going through some real financial stress right now.
I used to love to stay up all night listening to jazz with a woman by my side.
An industry that packs groups of people into small spaces is now left trying to determine how they'll survive at a time when people are avoiding travel in large crowds to prevent the spread of the virus. Eileen Morris, artistic director with the Ensemble Theater, says they're doing everything they can to stay connected to their audience and adjust to the new normal.
And so we've created this bold online series, which allows our artists to come on and do their specialty, whatever that is, in acting and singing and dancing. And then we've had staff members that have done workshops in costume design, how to create a theater resume.
Keeping a virtual presence is one thing, but interaction with an audience is another, which leaves many to wonder, when will the show go on?
We have a larger space at the Ensemble Theater, and we'll be able then to have an opportunity for audiences to be social distancing and artists as well.
The Ensemble Theater hopes to continue live shows in the late fall. As for the Alley Theater, it's already canceled shows in one of its smaller spaces, but hopes to open its other theater by September.
The 776 seat house, which is the Hubbard Theater, we can seat about 35%. socially distanced. And so that's, we are basing our next year's season on that. But the most important thing for all of us is the safety of our patrons and our artists.
Denise Middleton, Fox 26 News.
Well, even with more businesses being allowed to reopen in recent days, many families are still struggling from income loss. In terms of another round of stimulus checks from Congress, House Democrats have already passed another $1 trillion bill that would include check run number 2. But it may not pass the Republican-led Senate. The latest jobs reports shows that the U.S. gained 2.5 million jobs, and many Republicans point to that as proof that taxpayers do not need to spend more on aid. Gyms and fitness centers were the ones really sweating when we found out that they had to close because of the pandemic. But many of them have been innovative in continuing to support their community and their community health. And one local spot is now helping the world stay healthy. Photojournalist Ray Williams taking us inside.
All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1, double knee. What you know about going out? Yeah.
COVID just, changed the whole trajectory of our business plan. We really had to reformat.
What y'all want to do?
And pivot professionally.
Let's get it, ladies. It's time to work now.
To make sure that we stayed afloat.
Regency Fitness has been about just breaking barriers.
Let's go.
Being an entrepreneur and a business owner, you're faced with a lot of challenges.
3, 2, 1, 3,
Even throughout COVID is what's crazy. We've been able to touch even more lives that we probably wouldn't have been able to come into contact with if we had stayed within the comfort zone of our own 4 walls. And that's what, I'm loving right now. It kind of pushed me as a business owner, entrepreneur, to think of other avenues to stay afloat.
COVID-19 has kind of really changed our reality. In a whole, but RCF has really transitioned into that space where we're doing Zoom workouts with our ladies.
On my Zoom, I see you, Myra. I see you, Emily.
We didn't have any virtual training at all.
Y'all get ready to have a lot of people in the building.
Our gym was basically, it was solely in-house.
Rebound time.
Boot camps, one-on-one training.
Today in our live stream, we had somebody from Africa. I saw Amsterdam, Brazil, Britain. These are places that these women couldn't come to Houston to work out in our facility. But now that we've kind of, I wouldn't say perfected, but mastered this virtual online training, we're able to affect people all around the world.
We ready. So we ready to rebound. We ready. We ready to rebound. Ready to rebound.
I'm liking the vibe. I'm gonna have to check it out. Hey, one area that has been struggling to rebound is our blood supply. All across the country, the pandemic has been keeping donors from going out, donating blood, and about 1/4 of Texas hospitals now say that they have a day or less worth of blood on hand. A number of procedures at the MD Anderson Cancer Center have been put on hold because of this. They're calling on the greater Houston area, so all of us, to help them stock back up. In particular, they have a critical need for the universal type O blood. So if you have it, please step up and do what you can. Next week, there are 2 blood drives happening in our area. One is Tuesday, June 16th. You can donate at either the Energy Center or at Moody Gardens. So both the same day, slightly different times as you see there. Appointments are spaced out to help with social distancing. Go to giveblood.org to learn more and sign up. And coming up next, a local distillery is filling more than just a need for hand sanitizer as they shift their business model in this pandemic. We'll be right back. We want to take you to a local whiskey maker that was one of those that switched to distilling hand sanitizer when the coronavirus outbreak first hit our area. Now Whitmire's Tasting Room is back open, and Fox 26 photojournalist Doug Biggers checks in on how they're continuing to help employ those who were laid off because of the pandemic and what they're choosing to do with much of their sanitizing supply.
Got 8 filling stations over here. We've got 3 shifts we're running, about 30 people per shift, and most of them are out of work bartenders. We got a good number of veterans working, and they're over here labeling and filling, and then they'll package, and then we'll ship it out. pretty straightforward. Since we started doing this mid-March, we're at nearly 1 million gallons that we've produced and over 100,000 gallons that we've donated here locally to the greater Houston area. Hadn't been sleeping a whole lot.
I got laid off. I was in the oil field, and I became friends with Travis on Facebook through a Houston Bourbon Society group. And I saw that he was looking for people. He was trying to hire mostly bartenders, but I was laid off from oil and gas, and he still gave me the opportunity to come and work for him. And I mean, it was just an excellent source of income for me for the first 2 or 3 months. He got laid off, and then now hopefully it'll turn into a permanent gig.
Before here, I was a bartender at Bush Airport. The main source of income was business travelers. And I got a phone call from my brother, who's friends with the guys here. And I was thrilled, not just simply the fact that I can make some money, but also the fact that I'm not sitting at home.
We initially thought this might last 2 or 3 weeks, and here we are. So, yeah, who knows what it's going to be in the next 60 days. So. We'll keep going as long as we're needed. But certainly we have already begun getting back to the world of whiskey. We've got to get back on that track. I mean, that's what we're really passionate about. That's what we're in this to do. Things haven't slowed down with the sanitizer side either. We keep thinking, all right, well, there's enough of it out there. There's not. I mean, we're still getting, 200-300 calls and emails a day. We're still getting orders every day from all over the country. So as long as that's holding up, we'll keep doing it.
Well, as we continue to move forward out of this pandemic, we invite you to continue to share your stories of rebounding with us. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here tonight at 9.